Hello everyone and welcome to yet another session of Zomeo Classroom. I am Dr. Neha Khodke and we will be going through another case today which has been solved using HomePad Zomeo. Let's start. This is a case of skin rash. Mr. NC, who is 27 years of age, an unmarried engineer, complains of skin rash all over the body. The rash started from the head and there would be big scales which would fall. This began about 9 years ago. The rash progressed from head to eyebrows and then to other parts of the body. The patient had been treated by allopathic medicine first for dandruff and subsequently for psoriasis without any good results. Now let us look at the characteristics of the rash. The eruptions are scaly with marked itching, aggravated by direct exposure to any kind of artificial light, sunlight, perspiration, and heat. The patient could not bear light over his right eye. He had to turn his eye away even from sunlight. At night, he could not sit under strong light for his eyes closed automatically. With these few symptoms, we are now able to get a slight picture of the level of sensitivity in this patient. So out of the symptoms that we have taken, what do you think is the diagnosis? We come up with two kinds of diagnosis that this patient could possibly be suffering from. The first is a form of eczema and the second is psoriasis. How did we finally arrive at the diagnosis? Now understand, when we are talking about skin complaints, it largely depends on the clinical skills of the physician as well as the observational skills of the physician to know what exactly a person is suffering from. In this case also, we rely on observation and clinical skills. First, on observation, we saw that the rashes were in patches all over the body rather than a diffuse rash. The skin was thickened wherever the patches were. The scales were abundant and whitish in color. And very, very importantly, Auspid's sign was positive. Now, what is Auspid's sign? It is a test to diagnose psoriasis. Basically, you have to pull one or two of the scales from the skin wherever the rash is. And if you see bleeding spots underneath, this means that Auspid's sign is positive and points to a diagnosis of psoriasis. I will repeat it again. The physician needs to very gently, without causing any type of pain or discomfort to the patient, pull one or two of the scales of the rash. And if it reveals bleeding spots underneath, this means that Auspid's sign is positive and points to a diagnosis of psoriasis. So our final diagnosis of this patient is that he has psoriasis. Let's have a look at the life situation. In a condition especially like psoriasis, we know that psoriasis is a psychosomatic illness, which means that this disease first starts in the psyche or the mind of the patient, and then externally manifests in the form of symptoms on the most sensitive portion of that person's body or constitution. In this case, it was the skin. That is why it is very important to get or acquire characteristics from the life as well as the personality of this patient that would lead to a skin rash like psoriasis. The patient was born and brought up in Bombay, today Mumbai. If hurt, keeps it in mind and always broods. So he is very, very sensitive to getting hurt. Gets angry easily on the smallest of matters. So reactivity in this patient is very, very high. Can you see the connection with our case where we see that because the mental reactivity and sensitivity of this patient is very high, it manifests on the skin as high reactivity and high sensitivity in the form of the scales and the patches of the psoriasis. As a student would get extremely stressed before an examination. There is a lot of stress in his work, and especially a stress before meeting any new person. He is an extremely sensitive person, emotional, and has very strong views about things. Stress causes nervousness about small things. Gets excited very fast and shows anger when something goes wrong. Shouts very loudly and trembles with anger. Again, can you see how quickly and how fast his mental reactivity is expressing physically in the form of trembling? This is the level of sensitivity in this patient. Why I am constantly concentrating on the sensitivity is because this sensitivity plays a big role in the final remedy that was given to this patient. The patient holds a degree, a bachelor's degree in technology. He is unmarried. In his childhood, he was very shy, sensitive, and never mixed with people. He is extremely afraid of his father. The father is very dominating and short-tempered. This was the life situation. I hope, friends, that you have been taking down notes of the case history because we would like this to be an interactive session where you would take down what in your view and perception are the most important characteristics of this case, form your own totality, and then we compare and finally arrive at the remedy. And that is how we learn. So I hope that you have taken down notes. Having a look at his past history, there was a history of acute paronychia a few years back, which was resolved with allopathic medicines. There is a family history as well. The father has cataract. However, the sister and mother are completely healthy. Let's have a look at his generals. He is a person of good appetite with marked thirst, especially for cold drinks. He has an intense craving for milk. He has almost 4 to 5 glasses of milk in a day. No complaints for bowels or any other elimination. His perspiration, however, is peculiar. It stains his shirts yellow. He bathes with hot water, but while sleeping takes covering and switches on the air conditioner. This gives us a sort of an ambithermal picture. His sleep is good, but there is salivation when he sleeps, even today. And this is a symptom that has been going on since many, many years, since he was a young child, and it was never treated because it was never considered as being not normal. However, we as homeopaths know how important even these seemingly little things are, because they help us to point to the remedy very, very easily. The overall appearance of the patient. Why do we also see the appearance? Friends, it is not just the subjective symptoms that we consider. We also need to give importance to objective symptoms, to observations that the physician makes in the patient. And that is why it is necessary for the physician to be alert at all levels during the case taking. It's not just how he looks. It is his gestures, his body language, the way he is sitting, his posture, his eyes, the quality of his skin and hair, which makes up a total picture of a patient and gives you the final prescription. In this patient, the overall appearance of the patient is sickly with an oily face. Eruptions on his face are grayish with whitish scales. On his mustache, the scales are entangled with the hair. On observation, we saw that he kept wiping the mouth due to salivation, which meant that salivation was in excess not only when he was sleeping, but also during the entire day. Eruptions have the appearance of looking sticky. Now we'll have a look at the totality that we have taken. The totality of symptoms is a harmonious collaboration of all the characteristics, whether on mental, physical, or an observational or subjective level, that come together to form a comprehensive picture of the patient and hence the remedy. This is the totality that we have taken. First, anger on small matters. Why have we taken this? For a person who is 29 years of age, attains a certain level of maturity. However, this denotes a little bit of immaturity as well as sensitivity, which is why we have taken this symptom. It is a PQRS, peculiar, queer, rare, and strange symptom. The second symptom that we have taken is an exteriorization of his anger. He trembles in anger. Again, an unusual characteristic for anyone who has anger as a symptom. Brooding. Based on the intensity of the symptom, we have taken this in the totality. Stress when meeting new people. Again, for a 29-year-old, a slightly unusual symptom. For his age, it is a PQRS. Then we have taken two physical generals which are extremely characteristic for him. Desire for cold water and desire for milk. Then we have taken the characteristic of his perspiration. Perspiration that stains his clothes yellow. The next we have taken is salivation during sleep. And the final symptom in the totality is the psoriatic rash. Why have we taken this? Is because we need to take into consideration this symptom because we need a remedy that will cover this symptom or the chief complaint as well. We cannot take a remedy that does not have psoriasis in its proving. And this is the reason why we have taken psoriasis also in the totality. Because the psoriasis has been with the patient for the past 9 years, pervading his life. And that is why we need to take this symptom also along with the other characteristics. I am repeating the totality. Anger about small matters, trembling with anger, brooding, stress when meeting new people, desire for cold water, desire for milk, perspiration that stains the clothes yellow, salivation during sleep, and psoriasis. Now, for all of you who have seen our previous sessions, you know what our next step is. Our next step is to convert each of these symptoms into a rubric, a workable rubric that we can look for and finally utilize as a tool to get the final prescription for this patient. Here is our conversion. Anger about small matters has been taken from the mind chapter of the complete repertory, Anger Trifles About. Trifles are tiny matters. Trembles in anger, taken from the mind chapter of the complete repertory under Anger Trembling With. Brooding, directly translated into the rubric Brooding, again from the complete repertory chapter Mind. Stress when meeting new people has been converted into the rubric. Yes, we have a rubric for this as well. Strangers in presence of aggravates. Desire for cold water. This is the symptom which we converted into a rubric, and we have picked this up from the repertory of Kent because we found that the remedy list here is more concentrated and will give us better results. So, desire for cold water is converted as desires cold drinks from the stomach chapter of the Kent repertory. As an academic reference, I am just telling you that if you look for the same rubric in the complete repertory, you will not find it under the stomach chapter. You will find it under the chapter of generalities under food and drinks. Again, just an academic interjection. We are, however, considering the rubric from Kent's repertory, chapter stomach. The next symptom is desire for milk, again converted into the rubric desires milk from the stomach chapter of Kent's repertory. Perspiration staining the clothes yellow has been converted into a rubric seen in the perspiration chapter of Kent's repertory, staining the linen yellow. So we need to understand that this is your old usage of words because the repertory of Kent was released many years back, and that is why the usage that you will see is quite old, quite vintage. The next rubric is salivation during sleep, taken from the mouth chapter of Kent's repertory, salivation, sleep during. And the final rubric, the psoriatic rash, taken from the skin chapter of Kent's repertory as eruptions, psoriasis. This is our complete rubric list. And now, without wasting any more time, we will now start repertorizing this case using Homepath Zomeo. Let us now record these rubrics using Homepath Zomeo. The first thing that we can do is record the first rubric, which is anger trifles about. Now, there are different ways in which we can record rubrics in Zomeo. I will show you the simplest way in which you just need to type the words and the rubric automatically gets recorded in the software. This is the feature of quick repertorization where you can record the rubric directly and view it in the repertorization sheet simultaneously. For this, you have to click on this icon here, which is the icon for Repertorization Sheet. We click on it and this screen opens. In the search bar here, we type the keywords of the rubric. The rubric that we need to record is anger trifles about. So I type anger space trifles space about and I press enter. And now you can see that the software has intelligently recorded the most relevant rubric for the keywords that I typed in. The rubric that was recorded was anger trifles about from the mind chapter of the complete repertory. Let me record another rubric using the quick repertorization feature for you to better understand this unique feature. The next rubric that we need to record is anger trembling with. So again, let us type anger space trembling space with. Clicking on enter records the rubric anger trembling with again. Now this was the quick repertorization feature through which we could record the rubrics of a case. I will now show you another way in which we can record rubrics. Suppose there is a rubric which you are unsure is represented best in which repertory. Then we use the feature of repertory search. Or just for academic interest, you'd like to see how many rubrics are present for the keyword that we want to type or for the symptom that we want to search. For this, the best feature that you can use is repertory search. And I am now going to record the next few rubrics using this feature. Let us record the rubric brooding. So, in this search bar here, where you see search symptoms written, we type the keyword that we want to search. In this case, it is brooding. Just click on enter and these are the search results that you get. We have 113 references for brooding. If you can see, from the complete repertory, we have 194 remedies represented for brooding. Because it has the maximum number of remedies for brooding among all the repertories that are there in Homepad Zomeo, we will record this rubric. To record this rubric, you can either click on Record Symptom present in the topmost ribbon, or you can just double click on this rubric and it gets recorded in the Repertorization sheet. That's it. Let me show you another rubric looked for using the repertory search feature. We need to now see the rubric Strangers in Presence of Aggravates. So I start typing strangers and presence. That's it. It is not necessary for me to type the entire rubric. Typing just one or two keywords will also give me the results that I am looking for. I just typed in strangers and presence. I now click enter. And I have 67 results for the two keywords that I typed in. Again, I will be taking the most relevant rubric, which is the topmost rubric in this list. The search results that you see are based on the number of remedies that are present in the rubric. So, the rubric with the maximum number of remedies for the keywords that you have typed will appear first, and the next rubrics will appear in descending order of the number of remedies. Again, I double click on the first rubric in this list. Again, from the complete repertory, strangers in presence of aggravates. And now this rubric also is recorded. The next rubric that I want to look for is a desire for cold drinks. And this is where I will show you another way in which rubrics can be recorded with Homepad Zomeo. And this is Quick Case Record. The Quick Case Record feature is present in the Repertory module of Homepad. Among the ribbon, you need to click on Quick Case Record. Clicking on Quick Case Record opens a list. Now this list is of certain chapters in which we have divided or categorized symptoms in the patient's language. The Quick Case Record is a very useful feature, especially for those homeopaths who are just starting out in their practice or who have been practicing just for a few months or for a year or two and do not understand exactly how to convert a symptom into a rubric. Using this feature, it helps those homeopaths to ease into the process of converting symptoms into rubrics, because each term that is mentioned here is in patient language. What we have done is made everything really simple for you. To each symptom, we have tagged the most relevant rubrics. All you need to do is select the symptom and view the linked rubrics, and you will be able to see all the rubrics that are relevant to the symptom that you have clicked, and then you can record the rubric of your choice. I will show you a few symptoms from our case recorded using the quick case record. The first is a desire for cold drinks. Now, desires, we will go into the chapter food. On the left hand side, you see a list. This is a list of all the chapters. You just have to click on the relevant chapter and options open for that chapter. You just have to select the option which is relevant for your patient. In our case, it is a desire for cold drinks. So in the desire section that we see here, if you scroll down the list, you will see a section or a symptom called cold drinks. You can either check this particular option. If you check this option or if you click here, then the most relevant rubric automatically gets recorded. However, if I would first like to view the most relevant rubrics for this symptom, I will click on the words cold drinks and then I will click on this button here called show all rubrics. Once I click on it, a pop-up will open which shows me all the relevant rubrics for the symptom that I have selected. And I now see the rubric that I actually want to record, which is from the Kent's repertory, where there is a desire for cold drinks. I click on it and I just click here where record symptom is present. And now this rubric has been recorded. Let me show you yet another symptom recorded using the quick case record. The next rubric that we want to record is desire milk. We are still in the right chapter. So all we have to do is scroll through the list some more and arrive at milk. I click on milk and again I click on this button called show all rubrics and I select the rubric desires milk from the stomach chapter of Kent's repertory and click record symptom. This rubric again has now been recorded. Let's look for another symptom from another chapter using this feature. We look for the symptom perspiration staining yellow. Of course, this symptom will be found in the perspiration chapter. Now, if you would not like to scroll down, all you need to do is in this search bar type perspiration or just PERS and the software automatically indicates to you the perspiration chapter and opens it for you. Simple, isn't it? Now, looking for our symptom staining yellow. We look for it in character of perspiration, which is this middle box. We scroll down and see that there is a symptom called staining yellow. We click on it and again click on the button show all rubrics. This opens the pop-up and we now select the rubric of our choice. We see 11 rubrics that have been linked to perspiration staining yellow. I would like to take and record this rubric from the Kent repertory, which is why I select this rubric and click on record symptom. Again, perspiration staining yellow has been successfully recorded in my repertorial sheet. So this was the quick case record. Up till now, we have seen three ways of recording a rubric. The first was quick repertorization, where the rubric is directly recorded and can be viewed in the repertorial analysis. The second is repertory search, where the keywords are looked for in all the repertories that are there in HomePad Zomeo. And the third is the quick case record, where we directly recorded and searched for the symptom of a patient and then recorded the rubric. The next rubric we will record is salivation, sleep, during, and we will record this using the classic feature of HomePad Zomeo. To access the classic feature, you click on the repertory module and select Classic View. What you see on the screen is, first, on the left-hand side is the list of all the repertories that are there in HomePad Zomeo, and on the right-hand side you see the chapter that is selected, which opens and shows you the complete rubric list under that chapter. Now, I would like to record salivation during sleep from Kent's repertory. And to record this, I go to Kent and I click on this plus sign, which opens and reveals the chapters that are there under Kent's repertory. Now the rubric is salivation, sleep, during. One thing to remember when using this mode is that the physician should be absolutely sure where exactly the rubric is present. When he knows, it is very easy to use the classic view. Now, salivation, sleep, during is present in the mouth chapter of Kent's repertory. So, I select mouth. When I select mouth, this opens the chapter of mouth, and now I just look for the rubric salivation. Now, even within the classic view, there are two ways in which I can look for a rubric. The first way is if I am not exactly sure whether the rubric is at the second level or the third level or the fourth level. What do I do in this case? In this case, I do something called as a quick search, the button being present here. I click on quick search and I just type the keywords that I'm looking for. So I type salivation. Now this shows me certain results. Now I want salivation during sleep. So space sleep. And these are the references I get. Please note that the quick search feature helps me to look for a rubric in the chapter that I have selected only, not in any other chapter. If you would like to run a general search among all chapters, we suggest that you use the repertory search option. But if you would like to search within a particular chapter, then the quick search feature is the one for you. Now, the rubric that we see is salivation, sleep, during. This is the rubric that we would like to record. I click on salivation, sleep, during. It now directly takes me to that rubric. And now I can record this rubric from the Kent repertory. Again, I either click on Record Symptom present here in the topmost ribbon, or I double click on the rubric itself to record, or I have a third option as well, which is here, this button here showing record. I click on it, and now this rubric is recorded as well. We still have one more rubric to go, which is the rubric of psoriasis. We take up this rubric in the skin chapter of Kent's repertory. I click on skin from Kent's repertory and the chapter now opens. Now, like I told you, if you remember, there are two ways in the classic way also in which I can record a rubric. The first was the quick search feature, and the second is the level search. The level search is a very refined search in the sense that the physician needs to know exactly where the rubric is present at which level. If I start typing in a keyword in second level, it will show me or jump to the main rubric. Next, if I type in the third level, it will jump to the sub-rubric under the main rubric. I will be showing you this way. You can access level search from this search bar present here showing search second level. And now I start typing ERUP. The software directly jumps to the rubric eruptions. However, I am specifically looking for psoriasis. So I click on search third level and I type psoriasis. And now I have directly jumped to the psoriasis rubric in Kent's repertory. I now record this rubric. So friends, we have now recorded all the 9 rubrics of the repertorial totality for this patient. Let us now have a look at the repertory sheet. To access the repertory sheet, you need to click on this icon present here at the corner. I now see my entire repertorization sheet. If you can see, I can now have a look at all the rubrics that I have recorded, and against it I have 352 remedies. Now among the 352 remedies, with sepia being first, which is the remedy that I need to give to my patient? Should I prescribe sepia because it is the first in the list? Or am I unsure that this patient may not be sepia? What do I do now? Well, here we have certain tools that will help you to refine your search and arrive at the correct remedy. And those are our repertorization filters. If you remember, there were certain parameters that we have still not considered in the final repertorization sheet. The first was the sensitivity level of the patient. The second was the chronic nature of the disease or his suffering. And the third was his thirst. We have not recorded either of these in our repertorization sheet. So should we just discard them? No, we should not, because they help us to define the constitution of the patient. So how do we consider these 3 aspects as well? We can do this using the repertorization filters. And the filter that we are looking for is the remedy property filter. The remedy property filter can be accessed from the bottom screen. This icon present here, click on it, and now you can see a drop-up in which the first feature or filter is the remedy property filter. We click on it, we see a pop-up that opens, and now we can select whatever is relevant for the patient in this, and this is going to drill down our list of remedies beautifully. In the remedy property filter, we select the parameters that are relevant to our case. Like I mentioned, the case is a chronic one, so we select stage chronic. The person is a thirsty person. We select thirsty. And our final option is that we need a remedy that matches the sensitivity of the patient. If the sensitivity of the remedy does not match the sensitivity of the patient, it is not the correct remedy and will not have the desired effect or relief. So we select sensitivity high. And now I apply all these filters to my current list of 352 remedies. My remedy list has now drilled down to 110, reducing my list by half. Is it good enough? Maybe not. I am still looking for the perfect remedy. If you can see, sepia is still figuring on the top. However, it is figuring on the top based on the totality marks or the gradation. If I would like to see those remedies that cover the maximum rubrics in my patient, I click here on symptoms covered. My list now rearranges itself, and if you can see, sepia now figures third and Merxol is now seen first in the list. I still want to refine this list a bit more. What do I do? If you see, we recorded the first 4 rubrics from complete repertory, whereas the next 5 rubrics, which cover the generals as well as the skin complaint, from Kent. What if we apply a filter in which I can now be able to see only those characteristic physical generals and the chief complaint? Since we know that we have recorded all of them from the Kent's repertory, let me show you a new filter, which is the author filter. Now you may ask, why am I choosing Kent over complete? The reason is very simple. I have applied the Kentian approach in this case, where the mentals were considered, the generals were considered, and then the particulars. Now, if I am applying the Kentian approach, I will naturally give preference to the rubrics that I have recorded from Kent's repertory. And that is why I am now going to apply the author filter. For the author filter, I click on this icon here. This shows me the list of authors whose repertories are present in Homepath Zomeo. Now my preference is Kent. So I select Kent and I click OK. And now if you see, my list has decreased further. And now it shows me that Merxol is the remedy that is covering everything that I have recorded from Kent's repertory. So now I am reasonably sure that Merck is the remedy for my patient. Retrospectively, if you think now about the case, Merc is a fast remedy with very quick reactions and sensitivity, and this is exactly what is seen in my patient. But I still want to confirm, is this truly the remedy for my patient? Okay, it's covering the physicals, but what about the mental picture, the strong mental picture in this patient? Can Merck pass this test? Let us see. We now go to our final stage, which is Materia Medica confirmation. And for this, I will just right click on Merck and let me see the reference books that are there in Homepad Zomeo for Merck. For this, I go to Materia Medica. When I just put my cursor on Materia Medica, a huge list of books opens. I can refer to any of the books in this list and read about Merck. Let me look, or let me rather read Merck from the book The Soul of Remedies by Rajan Shankaran. The Materia Medica of Merck from Shankaran's book The Soul of Remedies directly opens. And what do I see here? The main feeling in Mercurius is that of being dominated, suppressed, or contradicted by an extremely dictatorial authority. Did we not see the exact same symptom in our patient, where the father is extremely dominating and the patient is very suppressed even today? Yes, we did. Another very important symptom that stood out. Like a Staphysagria person, he has trembling when angry or enraged. Again, very, very relevant to our patient. If we move further down in the book, let us have a look at the physical symptoms. Perspiration, which stains fast, leaving yellow stains, or a saltish deposit which stiffens the linen. In our patient, there is perspiration staining yellow. And the next symptom, profuse salivation during sleep. If you remember, we also observed in the patient that he was constantly wiping his mouth even while speaking and giving the case history. Merck also has excess salivation throughout the day. So now we are sure that Merck is the remedy for our patient, and we will prescribe Merck to our patient. Now, apart from the remedy, we also need to consider the auxiliary measures that we need to give to this patient of psoriasis, especially with relation to food, because it is seen that there are certain types of foods, especially those that contain artificial flavors, artificial colors, those that contain gluten, that tend to exacerbate or flare psoriatic rashes, which is why along with the remedy, it is also important to give such instructions to the patient so that he feels relieved faster. So how do we give the diet and nutrition to the patient for psoriasis. We have a feature in Zomeo for that as well. What you have to do is go to the utility module in Zomeo, and from here you click on diet and nutrition. This opens a window in which on the left hand side there are more than 70 clinical conditions for which specific diet has been prescribed. They can be printed on a paper and given to your patient as well. Now we are looking for specific diet for psoriasis. We have the disease psoriasis in our list. When I click on it, the instructions for psoriasis open, where in the beginning a short note is given on the disease, followed by the diet instructions. You can take a printout of this entire sheet and give to your patient. How useful this is, friends, because like I said, it is not just the remedy that is going to work for your patient. Along with the remedy, you must consider even the maintaining causes that may be flaring up the psoriasis or that may be keeping the psoriasis steadily going on since so many years. When you incorporate diet, when you incorporate specific do's and don'ts along with your prescription, the patient gets better faster and he has more faith in you because of this. So now we know that we can give the diet and nutrition for psoriasis also to this patient. Let us look at the final prescription that we gave. Merck Salt 30. 14 powders were given, one powder to be taken twice a day for a week. Let us see what happened in the follow-up. When he came after a week, the itching was marginally better. However, patches were unchanged in size, stress was still present, and salivation during sleep was status quo. The prescription was repeated for the next 15 days. He came in his next follow-up stating that itching was better by 20%, scaling seemed better marginally, patches still looked the same, however, there was a slight improvement in the salivation. Prescription was again repeated for another 15 days. Remember, when we start with a slightly lower potency, we have the freedom of repeating the medicine for the patient. In higher potency, repetitions are not advised on a frequent scale, so we need to be very, very careful because it can lead to an aggravation in the patient. In the next follow-up, he showed even better improvement. Itching was better by 50%, scaling was better, the redness of the patches were going down. Patches on the face, however, had aggravated, but the salivation was better. We again continued the medicine for another 15 days. In his next follow-up, he was much better and much happier. If you can see, both itching as well as the scaling had reduced. The patch on the scalp had begun to reduce. The salivation during sleep was much better. And at this point we felt that he was on his way to recovery, which is why it was not necessary now to repeat the remedy. He was kept on placebo only. In his next follow-up, however, he mentioned that he encountered a stressful situation at work because of which the itching had increased. We now gave Merxol in the 200 potency. However, we did not repeat it frequently. 2 powders were given, 1 per week. Now, why did we increase the potency? That's because we saw that with the 30th potency, although the patient was very much better, a stressful situation at work flared him up. Now, with the right potency, this should not be happening. He should be able to cope with the stress, and he should continue to get better at all levels, not just at the physical level, which is why we decided to increase the potency. In the next follow-up, his itching was much better. The scalp patch was steadily reducing. However, the patches on the face and the body were still the same. Salivation during sleep, better. We repeated Merxol again, 1 powder per week in the 200th potency. And in the next follow-up, he said something that we were so happy to hear. I feel much calmer than before. This means that the medicine had touched the core of this patient, which is why he was mentally as well as physically getting better. At this point, he said that the salivation during sleep had completely stopped. And in the next follow-up, the scalp patch had completely resolved. The facial patches had also resolved. The patches on the body were steadily reducing. He was put only on placebo. In 1 year and 4 months of treatment, he is only on placebo with only few doses of Merxol given so far. So what do we learn from this case? The efficacy and duration of action of a medicine also depends on the sensitivity of the patient. Higher the sensitivity, longer the duration of action. Never repeat the medicine till the previous dose is working. When you are unsure, give placebo. It gives time for you to think and time for the patient's body to react to the previous medicine or dose. A clearly increased sensitivity is expressed in this case. The first was cannot bear the slightest light, and the second, if hurt, keeps it in his mind, and third, stress causes nervousness about small things. Although the mental symptoms are clearly expressed, the pathology has advanced along with the high sensitivity. This is why we start with the 30th potency, because if we would have started with a higher one, we could have got a marked aggravation of the symptoms. So that was our case for this session. I hope that you take away a lot of learning from this session, and I will see you next week with yet another case presentation, an interesting case with Zomeo. This is Zomeo Classroom, and this is Dr. Neha saying goodbye and take care.